continues. The Massachusetts Senate has passed Senate Bill 2609, which provides additional resources to fight the opioid crisis affecting the Commonwealth. Among the provisions included in the bill are increasing access to medication-assisted treatment, exploring tools to reduce harm and save lives, and expanding prevention and education efforts, and addressing the high rates of co-occurring conditions of substance abuse disorder and mental illness. In a statement, State Senator Julian Cyr says the bill, an act for prevention and access to appropriate care and treatment of addiction, is the result of extensive work researching evidence-based best practices and collaborating with healthcare researchers and clinicians, hospitals, behavioral health providers, law enforcement officials, patient advocates, and individuals with life experience to develop policies to address the crisis. The bill also creates a substance abuse prevention, education, and screening trust fund. The fund will help finance the expansion of school-based programs that educate children and young persons on alcohol and substance abuse misuse, and that identify and support children and young persons at risk for alcohol or substance misuse. Senator Julian Cyr stopped in the studio last week to round up all the budget items that have been passed in this late legislative session. We're almost at the end of the legislative season on Beacon Hill. It has been a long, hot summer. Senator Julian Cyr, welcome.
Good to be with you, Paula.
Yeah, hot. Lots of travel.
Lots going on. Actually, we were in session last night till 11:30 p.m. debating this pretty big piece of legislation around opioids, providing more toolkits, more tools in the toolkit for first responders and medical folks. But so that meant I got home, back home to the Outer Cape well after 1:30 a.m. But we're here again today, and you know, it's sort of crunch time, and this is the, you know, it's a sprint to the end of the legislative session, which ends July 31st.
Okay,
so lots going on.
Let's give us the Cliff Note version, right? Because it's a it's a summer day and it's beautiful out there. But first off, especially in light of another tragic murder of a police officer, training funds have made it through.
Yep. So, you know, this has been a really hard year for the men and women who serve in blue in the Commonwealth, certainly, you know, here on the Cape, now in Weymouth. So in April, I introduced legislation to establish a stable funding stream for municipal police training, something that actually the Police Chiefs Association and others have been lobbying for years. We were able to get it passed in the Senate in April. The Senate passed it again in May. We got the House to take it up. And then just this week, on Wednesday, the Senate and the House both concurred, and we sent a bill to the governor's desk. So this provides a stable funding stream, up to $10 million annually for municipal police training. We had been appropriating about $4 million annually out of the general fund, and this is going to come through a $2 fee, a surcharge on rental cars. So you rent a rental car for a day, you rent it for a month, it's $2. It goes to municipal police training. This is akin to how we fund training for municipal firefighters. Right. So there's been a long time surcharge on homeowners insurance, a small percentage. That funds the Barnstable County fire training, it funds other fire training. And so this really puts municipal police on parity. And, you know, really important, I think, we're asking police to do more and more. You know, not just sort of traditional law enforcement, traditional traffic, you know, but there are first responders in the opioid epidemic. You know, they're essentially sort of first respond social workers in our community.
Yes.
You know, you look at the work that the Community Impact Unit in Barnstable's been doing, and so this really is going to provide for a whole host of training on everything from, you know, first aid, school resource officers, implicit bias. So you know, we're really sort of putting our money where our mouth is and being like, all right, you know, we're asking you to do a lot. We know you're doing a lot. Both chambers passed it unanimously. It's on the governor's desk, and I have don't foresee him not signing it.
Right.
So it's a big deal, and it's something that they've been pushing for quite a long time, was held up in Beacon Hill for quite a long time. So I'm proud that we could have gotten it done.
Fantastic. I know our Chief of Police, Sonneman, is also very pleased that it has passed. $42 billion.
So it's a $41.88 billion.
Okay.
And actually, a budget compromise was reached between the House and the Senate. We were a little delayed on this, but you know, the good news, I think, given revenue that we've had in the state, you know, this is a budget that funds a whole host of really critical priorities but is also pretty fiscally responsible. We're putting another $350 million in our stabilization fund. That's that rainy day fund for when we do have a recession. So now we're going to have $2 billion in that fund. That's really good news for safeguarding critical programs when we have a recession. Rating agencies are going to love it. And then a whole host of priorities. Chapter 70 funding is funded at the highest level ever. The highest level ever for regional school transportation. Less important for Barnstable, a big deal for DY, big deal for Monomoy and Nauset. And then actually that special ed circuit breaker, so the reimbursement for special ed, that's now funded at 75%. The first time we've reimbursed schools for special ed to 75% of those costs. Another big win. $88 million for regional transit authorities, including CCRTA here on the Cape. And a whole host of other priorities, in addition to big policy priorities that we were able to get done. Glad to walk you through all of them if we have time. But
well, I guess the dollar amount, $640,000 is coming to Cape Cod. A significant portion of that is dispersed throughout the city. Like I said, school funding has not been on parity for years and years and years, and those budgets they do so much with less. So now there's some of those things that maybe there are going to be some maker spaces in our schools.
I mean, we've still got a ways to go to meet the full commitment of the Foundation Budget Review Commission. But certainly the Senate's really led on this. I think it's really critically important. And then a whole host of other things. Worked with Duffy and Hack and others to fund tenancy preservation. There's a chunk of money, $45,000 to the Barnstable Police Department to begin to prepare for how do we have outreach around when we have these really intense storms, those chronically homeless people. How do you get more resources? That's going to the police. $20,000 to expand Narcan access here on the Cape, $50,000 to do education in schools around the opioid epidemic, so a big investment there. And then some important protections for Pilgrim, Small Business Technical Assistance Program, which supports emerging businesses under 20 employees. That's funded at the highest level ever, so we're doing some good stuff.
Right, it's not all just backtracking. We're literally, these are initiative types of funding. Coastal resiliency is also a big thing that's in there right now.
That's in an environmental bond bill. That both chambers took up. We're working to reconcile those. Another really big thing that came out of the budget was relief for small businesses around this new surcharge on health insurance that the Baker administration had implemented. This became a real headache for seasonal businesses, small businesses, part of the growing pains around health insurance coverage. And it was really unfair, around a restaurant or a nonprofit like Capabilities getting a bill, April 1st for unexpected bill for $26,000 or $13,000 and having to pay it April 30th. Under the budget, the administration is going to be directed in law to develop a waiver program for that for seasonal businesses, smaller businesses, nonprofits like that. So some big wins that really help businesses and organizations here on the Cape.
And when we talk about the budget process, I mean, this is, we've been operating on this 1 month kind of thing, so you guys can get everything passed by the end of July now. So you've made your date at this point in time. A little of the thing that struck me was that there was some money for calmer choice. And as we talk about opioid epidemics, and we talk about how do we stop children from actually getting to that point that they're taking drugs? The calmer choice money is huge. It's now proven that mindfulness helps people, child or not, an adult, cope with those anxieties and those stresses.
Exactly. I think increasing the opioid epidemic, we're learning that, all right, money that is put in and resources put in around giving young people resiliency really is going to help people from relying on drugs, particularly whether it's opioids in particular, which really, especially the synthetic opioids, really rewire the brain, and so that's going to go a big way there. In this bill that we took up last night, we do a lot around medically assisted treatment, a lot around really harm reduction, a lot around funneling more resources to schools. We've got a long ways to go here. And you look at the epidemic here on the Cape, we're disproportionately impacted by that. But I think these are steps in moving to really continue to fight this epidemic.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for fighting for us.
You're so welcome. It's good to fight with you. Yeah.
There you go. Anything else that you want to let our
Gosh,
viewers
I mean,
know?
there's so much that's coming out. We passed, last month there was a capital bond project that came out. Some money's going to come, hopefully, for the Armory project, which is a big deal for the town. Right. In the environmental bond bill we took up, there's monies both for doing some restoration here in Hyannis Harbor, and also along Commerce Way in Barnstable Village and Blish Point. Not just Blish Point, the outer part, but really that marsh piece that comes in there. So that's being reconciled, but we're optimistic that we're going to get those resources, which is significant for the town.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Julian.
Always good to be here. Enjoy the day.
Thank you.